Okay. All right, so a very big and a great good evening to you all. And this is your brother and friend Joshua Oppong of the New African Concept. And as we always do on Mondays, we dedicate it for Factcheckers, where we take time to answer specific questions. And for the time being, we have been focusing on religion and leadership. There are other segments of the ministry or of the vision that we will be pursuing, but I want to pick it up progressively. So for now, our focus, if you've realized, is more on things bordering on the subject of leadership, and then things bordering on the subject of religion. When you come on board, you do well, and then register your presence. At least you can show a thumbs up, you can share, and then comment as well. And then share so that many people will also hear what we are saying. So today we have a very serious question. It started in the morning in one of the groups that I am a part of, where we were discussing on things concerning Ghana and then the way forward. And one question that came on board, for which I extracted from that place in order to use it for today's fact checkers, is that looking at the trends and looking at how things are going. And this question came as a result of the current, situation where the IMF, and because of that, many people who used to hype MPP are now derailed. They feel grossly disappointed in what MPP is doing. And then they ask themselves that what is the alternative? Is it NDC? Because NDC also, from time to time, they have been giving us almost the same thing. So it looks like elections 2024, it is going to be a context between trying to find out which of them becomes a better devil, or is it that we are looking out for a third force? And is that third force or independent candidate or any of our smaller third forces, are they having the necessary muscles in order to pull the weight onto breaking these two parties? So these were the discussions that we were having, and then the question that someone brought on board is that, so is democracy really, especially the multi-party system of democracy that we are practicing in Ghana here, is it really the way forward? Or there should be something different that should come to it? Now, I want you to understand that by the time we had independence, these things were things that we should have been, we should have had conversations around. The error that we did was that we only looked at what people were doing. That is perhaps what the Americans and then the British, because we inherited especially from the British. So we took just the colonial system. And then, later we'll be taking our time and then we'll be giving you history, sound history of where we are coming from and how things have affected us. And you could see that still the colonial effect is still strong in our governance system. So what we should have done is that we should have contextualized. So ODB free a different continent or a different nation or a different context. What you should do is that you must contextualize. Unfortunately, most African countries, we did not contextualize. We just inherited what our white, colonial masters gave us. We just took it hook, line, and sinker, and then we started operating on. Personally, I will always go for democracy any day, anytime. I've always argued on different platforms that I don't find any other system to be, to be at par with democracy when it comes to a system of government that really represents the interest of the people. There is, you can talk of oligarchy, you can talk of monarchism, you can talk of feudalism, you can talk of autocracy, you can talk of several other kinds. But the truth of the matter is that I don't find any of them closer or more potent or more useful, especially when it comes to the one which really represents the desire and the interest of the masses than democracy. So for Ghana to have adopted democracy as a system of government or governance, there is absolutely nothing wrong. In fact, it is good. However, it should have been contextualized and perhaps it should have been built up progressively. That is why for most of the countries, now we talk of Rwanda. Rwanda is Rwanda because when you talk when you take Paul Kagame, he has been there since after 94. He has been there for so many years. The model country we normally use, Singapore. Singapore is because Lee Kuan Yew, who happened to be the first president, was there or has been in power for about 31 good years, from 1959 to 1990, before he later gave up, and then he has died even in the course of time. But at least he had 31 good years to be able to manage things, and now he was able to build systems. Rwanda's Paul Kagame is also having or had up to now a good number, more than 20 years, being able to put certain things in place. So you could see that there is a place of, that is what some people argue as benevolent autocracy. But what I mean is, democracy, though it is good, and for me, I find it to be the best amongst the various forms or systems of government which truly represents the people. However, there are certain conditionalities that should be met before democracy becomes or democracy becomes practically useful to any group of people. The reason why democracy seems not to be working for Africa, seems not to be working specifically for Ghana, is because we have neglected the fundamental requirements, the fundamental prerequisites. Sa no man no anywhere, ebema o democracy no aye something else. And there are two things that our kind of democracy that we are practicing here, there are two things that are very wrong with it. But unfortunately, that is how it runs. One is the power system. The kind of democracy I run in our Ghana, it gives birth to two kinds of systems. Bako the power system. You can't the power system. Another name of is the winner takes it all. Said the Asia building a system, no, the winner indeed takes it all. So when the ruling party like MPP, there is so much power that have been given to the president and that matter the executive, that the winner indeed takes it all. There are almost about 6,000 appointees or appointments that the president will have to make. And all these are based on party boys. All these are based on party faithfuls. All these are based, it is not a matter of objective competence. It is a matter of your affiliation to the party. Because in most cases, the struggle or the journey in order to procure the presidency is so expensive. It costs so much in order to win elections here in Ghana and then in Africa. And by the time so getting into power is only a time to what? It's a payback time. So that those who gave you little contributions, it is now time to favor them, to give them some positions, some portfolios. Even if it does not exist, you have to create all kinds of portfolios. And we saw that especially during our President Nanado's first term. You could see that there were about 125 portfolios, Zongo minister, all kinds, because it was said they did that. Na said the one of the boy me and son of president no. I was me pay baby money said the way of best no. So these things are the kind of democracy we are practicing here. It is not the kind that will bring us development. It is not the kind that will make us a prosperous nation. Though democracy in itself is a very good kind of system, though not perfect, but at least compared to feudalism, compared to oligarchy, compared to monarchism, autocracy, socialism, that's communism, and then all, compared to the other classes and then the schisms, democracy stands unparalleled. With all its limitation, it stands unparalleled as the best kind that represents the best interest of the people. However, the problem with Ghana and Africa's democracy is that the fundamental prerequisite or the requirements, the initial requirements a year in order to support the effective running of democracy, it is absent, it is missing, and that is why we are having the kind of here. And I may say the democracy now you're practicing with Ghana, no, it produces two kinds of systems. The first system is the power system, where it is also called the winner takes it all. Until now, it is MPP in the Wabemu, and you could see that everything is inclined towards the MPP. In most cases, you could find certain giants in PPP, you could find certain intellectuals in CPP, in NDC. You bet to me atapi omunyansa, omu experience, any omadrin in order to keep the effective running of the nation. Now, so yeah, that because the system and the constitution backs the winner takes it all. So if it is Akufo-Addo and then MPP, everything will be about them. They are going to enjoy, and then the rest will just be suffering. In the NDC, Ateku, Omu Transit 2024, say Yamea Domna, so Mubetimiaba, Omuba, no Monso, the winner takes it all. They will sack all the key positions, the MPP, the CEOs, ya best sack your money na yanso, yede aba. Yenchichiri omansa. This kind of democracy has given birth to the power system. The second system is the welfare system. The welfare system, where a part of the weak value systems are your. So the welfare system, it has created the dependency syndrome. And I don't know, it was borrowed from the colonial mindset. If we say first, juma ama a white man, no, into juma, no, because where I am doing it for my slave master, I am doing it for the colonial master. Now the colonial master is off, but still that mentality is still there. Into the average black man, he doesn't have in mind that he is working with you in order to achieve a common goal. Rather, he has it in mind that he is working for you. So once say I am working for you, and then you don't even value the person. And indeed, the leaders, the CEOs, the big bosses, they don't value the workers. And then the workers also don't see the need to go the extra mile. So productivity is very low because of the dependency syndrome. So the dependency syndrome and then the entitlement mentality has given birth to a kind of democracy that produces the welfare system. The duty of the government is not to provide jobs for everybody. In fact, there is no country in the world that the government provides jobs for everybody. No, the duty of the government, even if there's a country like that, that is not the true essence or the true duty of the government. The duty of the government is to create a sense of direction for the people. That is through sound leadership. And then the duty of the government is to provide the best available atmosphere, socio-economic atmosphere, political stability, security, and then to provide effective atmosphere for businesses to thrive, for capitalism to run, for private enterprises to run. It is the private enterprises that is going to absorb the remaining people. Enti aban adwumadie enye se obe provide bibia ama obia. That kind of welfare system is coming out of the entitlement mentality. That was a metuaba mao o MP no metuaba mao enti yenya tuaba eyi MP pe obo say in the course of the year, in the course of the month, what we will see is that we will start seeing, the MPs have been complaining. Adeɛ bɛkye MP wobɛsɔre na amanfoɔ asaline me ba bɛgye me school fees, me ba bɛgye me ba school fees, me pɛ scholarship ama me ba bɛgye even my pocket money, and woe betide you if you do something different. Why? Because me to abama. So because me to abama you as an MP, I am entitled to be fed by you. I am entitled. It is your right to give me school fees for my child. So the welfare system is killing us. And then the impaying also, they just worsen it by giving all kinds of promises that vote for me and I'm going to do this for you, I'll do this for you, I'll do this for you, I'll do this for you. No. If we want to build the nation, there must be a national wave. There must be an awakening of a national consciousness that we are all committed to the process or the processes involved for nation building. So what are we saying? What we are saying is that if we are going to build our nation, why is democracy not working for us? Democracy is not working for us because of these things, the power system and then the welfare system that it has created. There are, according to Professor Van Viver, he has studied the subject of democracy, taking it so deep, and multi-party democracies and then all. There were 6 things that he made mention of. And that is what I'll be sharing with you briefly as what he referred to when he was talking of the things that are needed in order for democracy to run. What will happen is that any kind of democracy, you see, my main same way and say democracy. No, what is democracy? Democracy is a government for the people, by the people. Yes, as it's been said. So it is actually a government for the people, and it is by the people. So what happens is that if there is a portfolio in a democratic community, there is a portfolio position stronger than the president, and that is the people. The people, the masses, and determine the sanity of democracy. So let me just quickly walk you through the 6 points of Professor Van Viver as he gave as the very substrate. And normal I was in order for multi-party democracy to be very effective. Number 1, he said that there must be a certain level of education and intellectual sophistication among a greater part of the people. You see? Or say there must be a certain level of education and intellectual sophistication amongst a greater part of the people. So for democracy to effectively run, because democracy, the glory of democracy rides on the enlightenment of the people. The glory or success of democracy is not so much onto the leadership, but as compared to the people. Because democracy, in autocracy, the radar is so much on the leadership, because it is as the leader determines in autocracy and then in monarchism. Yes, in monarchism, it depends so much on the leader. But in democracy, it does not depend so much on the leader. Though leadership is very pivotal and salient, it depends so much on the masses, on the people, because it is a government for the people, by the people. It is a government for the people and by the people. So because of that, the first requirement, according to Van Wijver, is that there must be a certain level of education, a certain level of intellectual sophistication. When we ask ourselves, let's ask ourselves that, do we have that in Ghana? No. The fundamental things are here no bakono ye a level of intellectual sophistication. Many of the people walking around obi wa okura PhD nanso sebio adwenu ewo form. The understanding of things, critical thinking, analysis, assessment, everything is very weak. But according to research, it is being said that for democracy to effectively run, then there must be a certain level of education and intellectual sophistication amongst a greater part, not just a small percentage, amongst a greater part of what? Of the masses. Number two, there must be a free flow of information. There must be a free flow of information. There must be a free flow of what? Of information. That is the second thing. There must be a free flow of information. So when we are talking about, when we are talking about the place of democracy, apart from having that aspect, there must also be that free flow of information. If there is no free flow of information and a politically alert and informed public, there must be a free flow of information and a politically alert and informed public. In other words, the people must be politically educated. There are several people in Ghana here who they don't have the slightest idea concerning our governance system. And the problem is not so much of the poor leadership that MPP, NDC, and then even since independence we have had. The problem is that in the time now, independence, nanka in normal way na enka ewo se the dominant discussions. You see, na ye ni ewo road, ana good schools, ana healthcare. Those things the ABCs. It is just the ABCs. It's just the kindergarten. Our problem goes far beyond that. How much will it take to fix all the road network in Ghana? If we are to contend and deal with corruption, we can fix a lot of things. Into the problem, just poor roads, poor healthcare, poor education. Those things, they can be fixed just within 6 months. With real systems, everything. But the problem is deeper. Our mindset is impoverished. Our understanding of the governance structure and system is just appalling. So the second requirement for sound democracy to run is that there must be a free flow of information. Look at our media. The media determines what they want us to hear. And most of the media, they are attached to political parties. Some of our politicians, some of our journalists, instead of being objective, they are just attached to certain political parties and they are doing their biddings. Intisika omubenya out of greed ni adientino, instead of being objective and doing objective analysis, there is no free flow of information, and then the masses are not politically informed, they are not politically educated. there are several people in Ghana who are political illiterate, though the person is a PhD holder, though the person is a medical doctor, though the person is an engineer, a pharmacist, a teacher, a trained nurse, and then all. Yes, still Ubisane say, what is the structure at the local governance? Onim. Ubisane the details of the judiciary. Onim. Ubisano the slightest aspect of our constitution. Onim. And there are many people in the church, and he is so engrossed in spirituality or spiritualism and Holy Ghost fire that the things are caution and fun. Many of the people are politically ignorant, but then according to Professor Van Vijver, it is necessary that for democracy to effectively run, then the greater masses must be politically informed, they must be politically alert, and there must be a free flow of information. Number 3, he said there must be a public ethos. And that is what I've been talking about. There must be a sustainable set of values. Ethos, that is morality, that is cherished in the hearts and minds of a cross-section of the community. I am laying down the requirements for effective multi-party democratic system to run. We jammed these requirements and then we just adopted what the white man was doing. So that is the third thing. There must be a public ethos. There must be ethical standards that the public must cherish in their heart and in their mind. He's talking about sound value systems that must be what? Must be cherished by the people in order to run with. And if you have a system like value for time, value for human life, then you'll be thinking for the common good of the people rather than your personal, parochial interest. Number 4, he said that there should be a measure of material prosperity and economic development. There must be a form of material prosperity and economic development for effective, multi-party democratic system to run. All these things, enya dia yewo e Ghana, enunti na democracy enwie pay There must be a measure of material prosperity and economic development. Do we have it? Majority of the people are working in tattered penury. There is so much, financial mess up in the country. Economy there is a lot of economic, depression in the country. And it is a masses, when there is so much poverty and there is so much hardship in the country or in the system, what it leads is that they become influential, and then we begin to depend on them. It increases the dependency syndrome. And once you are dependent on them, then they call the shots, then they bring in all those kind of stuff. And until an election year, Ubon se na ya tam 50 cities e dey share matches box mu na ya dey akomo obi na kwabrane fi how poor the government has run for the 4 years, and then because ya man 50 cities intino na wakoto aba no. These things, we have been talking about it because there is no measure of material prosperity and economic development. So the masses are struggling. And because the masses are complaining and struggling and they are in economic hardship, obi ede an offer etimi etoni vote. So many people buy the votes of many people who are struggling. Sisia no ode ye the bag of rice ebrewa ebia wo no onje na nso ode ko ekurase baby na ode bag of rice or no the be 2 years ni nanim bo bag of rice so that obi wo ho a obedi obewe se bio akokọ a agese bronya enti se wadom no na wa man no 50 cedis ama no oil ne bag of rice se onko to aba adenti na onto you just vote because the person is even politically ignorant. Number 5, there must be a sense of national pride and loyalty to collective aspirations that transcend self-interest in order to promote the general good of the people. Adewi eniho. We don't have it in Ghana. There must be a measure or a sense of national pride, patriotism, and then loyalty not to a political party, but loyalty to the collective aspirations of the people, of the masses, that transcend self-interest. This particular characteristic is absent in Ghana. How then do we expect democracy to be functional here? And for many people, they think that democracy is just about having elections. Most of our elections are not even free and fair. But at least compared to most African countries, na obia tiada. Now are trying for the next 4 years because we are politically indifferent. We are politically unconcerned. Democracy is not about having 4 years elections without issues. Beyond voting, democracy is about every citizen sharing interest, commenting, and sharing interest in what is going on in the country. In this na said the ekoso ewo man no mu no ehia excuse me to say oye mambofo, you are part of the problems in Ghana. It doesn't matter how spiritual you are. If you are not concerned about what is going on in the country, it means that you are part of Ghana's problem. So I always say that before we talk about the poverty of leadership, we must talk about the citizenship failure. We have failed as citizens, and out of the citizenship failure is producing what we have today: the poverty of leadership, the gross mismanagement of the economy, and then the gross ineptitude of the leaders, our political leaders in the country. All this while is because the citizens have failed. Many people are selfish and they are concerned about their personal, parochial, individualistic gains. There are many people they have gone into politics. Ubisano, even they start at our tertiary schools, Tescon. Owomuni nyina no oni akomane se obabe boa mada Ghana debi na adwian se debi ne party ebeba power no munso abe disika no. You don't expect things to run effectively with this kind of attitude. Finally, a situation of political stability and peace to permit effective functioning of government. So, this happens to be the 6 cardinal prerequisites or requirements for democracy to effectively run. 1, there must be a certain level of education and intellectual sophistication amongst a greater part of the people in Ghana. Do we have that? No. 2, there must be a free flow of information and a politically informed and a politically alert people. Do we have it? No. Majority of the people in Ghana are politically indifferent and are politically ignorant. Number 3, there must be a public ethos or morality that is shared interest or shared values that brings about progress. Do we have in Ghana? No. The values that we share are the values of selfishness, the values of greed, the values of corruption. So these things are not fundamental within us. So because of that, it is very difficult to have the kind that we want. Number 4, there must be a measure of material prosperity and economic development so that the masses don't rely on the few people in order for them to be manipulated. But majority of the people in the system today, they are struggling. There is a lot of economic depression. No wonder we've run to IMF for a bailout with terms and conditions that will be given unto us. Unemployment has skyrocketed. Inflation is around 27%, and then our debt to GDP is just around of more than 80%, and then our fiscals are not good. Ghana is heading towards a ditch, and we must arise and rise very quickly. A sense of national pride, a sense of nationalism, a sense of a patriotic sense of nationalism. We don't have that. Instead of thinking for the common good of the people, we are thinking for ourselves. And then finally, a situation of political stability and peace to permit this, in which we really don't have. So out of the various 6 requirements for effective democracy to run, we are absent. So what is the way forward? We have come too far for us to go back to monarchism or feudalism or all those kind of stuff. And until democracy, ye prayer ho adopted in term dodo. So ye per se adopted democracy, then it means that these are the fundamentals. But looking at our historical background, and then in the Fourth Republic, we don't have any other choice but to continue with the trend of the democracy. However, if we have to continue with democracy, then the effort should be channeled in helping to reorient the minds of the politically asleep and snoring people, that democracy is not about every 4 years elections, but rather beyond the elections, democracy is about sharing interest in what is going on in the country and together building ourselves in order to build the country. God richly bless you very much. This has been your brother Joshua, and then today we took a look at the subject of democracy and then all. In later times, I'll be giving you the way forward, looking at how things are going. Should it be MPP? Should it be NDC? Should it be a third party, a third force? If a third force, then who? Is it Kofi Kranting? Is it CPP? Is it PPP? Is it PNC? Or they should all come together? What should be the way forward? We'll be sharing the details on another time. Stay tuned. This is the Voice of Reformation. I'll come your way on Wednesday as we take a look, continue our series on the understanding the concept of the church. And then on Friday, as usual, we will be having the extended edition of the Voice of Reformation. Until then, stay blessed. The last announcement is that there are 2 schools. We will start our lectures from next week. That is the School of Transformational Leadership and then the School of Apologetics. It will be an online school who, at the end of the day, will also give you there's a certificate. So please, if you are interested, do well and then register. You can show, in the comment section, or you can call me. My number is 0246 29 28 40. Some have registered, and then we are waiting for you. Lectures begins next week, and then don't miss out. Stay blessed.